Reading with your kids.
Hey, so great to see you. Come on in. Hi, my name is Jedley, and this is the Reading with Your Kids podcast, coming to you from the beautiful Reedville neighborhood in the wonderful city of Boston. We are so happy that you're part of our beautiful Reading with Your Kids family. Please be sure to subscribe to the show on the iHeartRadio app, on Podbean, on Spotify, on Himalaya, or wherever you find your podcast. We have a wonderful guest for you today. She is the author of Spinne the Spider. Her name is MaeMae Spencer. Before MaeMae comes in, I'm really excited. We have an exceptional Father's Day program coming up for you. Dr. John DeGarmo is coming back in here. You may have heard Dr. DeGarmo on the show before. John is a foster care expert, and he came in. I wanted him on Father's Day just to talk about the importance of fathers and what we can do as fathers and as mothers and as caring adults to help the thousands, hundreds of thousands of kids in need. And he's also on the show to celebrate his brand new book, which is called Little Book of Foster Care Wisdom. It's being published by our friends at Familius. Familius, it was founded by Christopher Robin, and he's been in the book publishing business for over 20 years. Now, Christopher was on the show, and I asked him what inspired him to create Familius. He said, I believe that everyone wants to have a happy family. So I founded Familius with the intent of helping families be happier. And that's what our books do. They help families be happy. And it really is true. I love that Familius believes that family is the fundamental unit of society and that happy families are the foundation of a happy life. They recognize that every family looks different, and they passionately believe in helping all families find greater joy. To that end, they publish books for children and adults that invite families to live the Familius 9 Habits of Happy Family Life. Love together, play together, learn together, work together, talk together, heal together, read together, eat together, and laugh together. Check them out at their website, Familius.com, and follow Familius Talk on Instagram to learn more about John's new book and stay up to date on all their new releases. I also want to let you know that this episode of the Reading with Your Kids podcast is also brought to you by the Nature Club. You know, I was about to say that when I was growing up, I loved nature, but that's wrong because I still love nature. My wife and I had this amazing trip down to Panama last summer, and it was amazing. When we were out on the canal and when we were in the rainforest, it was crazy. I was fascinated. I felt like I was back in 3rd grade. It was just wonderful. That's why I'm so happy that we are sponsored by the Nature Club. The Nature Club is a series of nature-based books for middle grade readers by author and wildlife biologist Rachel Mazur. The Nature Club is made up of a diverse group of 5 friends. Each book in the series tells the story of one of the kids and how they approach a challenge of growing up. Challenges including moving, parents' divorce, and health issues. Their stories run in parallel with stories about wildlife and challenges they face, including migration, metamorphosis, and foraging for seasonal foods. Each book ends with the kids finding ways to take simple actions to help themselves and the wildlife they love. Readers learn about the natural history of birds, monarch butterflies, bears, raccoons, frogs, and bobcats. I mean, what kid's not going to love reading about bobcats? And at the end of each book, there are discussion questions and a section on additional information about the featured animal. This is a great series of books that your middle grade readers will absolutely love. For more information, you can find the Nature Club on Facebook or Instagram at The Nature Club Books or on the internet at natureclubbooks.com. It's The Nature Club by our friend, author, and wildlife biologist, Rachel Mazur. Joining us right now from Oklahoma City in Oklahoma. She is the author of a great series of children's books called Spinne the Spider. Please welcome MaeMae Spencer. MaeMae, how are you?
Hi, Jed. I'm great. How are you doing?
I am pretty awesome. It is a beautiful day here in Boston, one of the first of the spring. we had a warmer January than I think we had in the first part of April. It's been crazy here, but the sun is shining right now, and we're going to learn a little bit about Spinne the Spider.
Perfect.
So you're just telling me that the inspiration for Spinne came from a real life encounter you had with the spider.
It did. I was getting in my car to leave for work one morning, and there was this little green spider on the window. And I thought, she'll go away on her own, so I let her be, drove all the way to the city, and she was still on my car when I arrived. So I thought, I'll just leave her on the car, and she can wander off during the day. Went back out after work, and she was still there. So I drove home thinking, surely she's just going to wander off. And no, she was still there. So I noticed, I took a little closer look, and I noticed she only had 6 legs instead of 8. Mm-hmm. So poor girl, I thought maybe she can't get down. I got a stick and tried to help her off, and she spun a web, and that's the last time I've seen her.
Isn't it funny and wonderful where inspiration comes from?
It is. It comes from all around us if we pay attention.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Now, from that chance encounter with a spider, you have created a series of really cool books for kids. Tell us about the latest one that's available.
Oh, thanks for asking, Jed. The latest one is more along a serious tone. She encounters bullying. And because she's a disabled spider, of course she's going to have a little more trouble with other creatures, individuals, insects, rodents, all sorts of things, thinking they're better than she is. Mm-hmm. This time she meets a bat who has she's lost and has arrived from, she's not even sure where she came from at this point, but the winds blew her in, and there are 2 ants that are making fun of her. So Spinne stands up for her friend and helps her against these bullies.
Mm-hmm. I think that's really wonderful. I've been doing anti-bullying school magic shows in schools for, it's been about 15 to 16 years right now. And schools came to me looking for me to create this show. And one of the things that I realized as the show was morphing and changing and growing, the more I learned about the subject, is that the most effective way to deal with bullying is to motivate the kids in the middle, the kids who aren't being bullied and the kids who aren't bullies, motivate them to actually stand up and take action.
That's excellent.
Yeah.
Bullying is huge. It's a terrible problem in our schools.
It is a real problem in schools, and it's a complex problem. And I think one of the reasons it's so difficult is because of regulations that are really handcuffing a lot of public schools. We hear, cries and legislators, government people around the country. See, I'm really easy. I give up sometimes. Politicians come out and they hear tragic stories about bullying, and then they pass a law, and it's like no bullying is allowed in these schools. But at the same time, there's another group of politicians, addressing another issue. And so right now, it's very difficult to suspend kids who are bullying others, because there's legislation that says you can't suspend kids, and you can't suspend kids under a certain age, and you can't do this, and you can't take away recess, and you can't keep kids after school because they have to get on buses. And it's just, I know a lot of educators that I speak to, they just kind of throw their hands up and go, I don't know what we can do.
It doesn't sound like the legislators are giving them much room to do anything at all anymore. And that's a shame, because bullying runs rampant, especially when it's not kept in check. Absolutely.
Yes. And I think that's the biggest challenge facing schools, is that there's so much politics involved. And, a lot of people who aren't in the schools, dealing with the issues, not knowing what the issues are, making policy decisions, and it's very difficult. And it's a balancing. And I understand that there's a need for laws, and and that the school systems weren't perfect, and that people aren't getting, aren't always, and still aren't getting equal opportunities. And so it's a really difficult situation. But we don't have a handle on it. And this is it's just a frustration of mine, because again, I've been dealing with this issue for a long time, helping schools, and it doesn't get better. But again, the one thing that I know that works so well is, really motivating those kids in the middle to create a culture where it's not cool. When they see something happening, when they see somebody being left out, when they see somebody being hurt or mistreated, telling a teacher, letting the person doing the bullying know that that's not cool, and we don't want you to do that. We don't want that at our schools.
It's difficult to teach them to do that, to help them along and explain, this is what you do. You stand up for these people, and you don't take it from these other people. Mm-hmm. And I understand my grandkids are being taught the same things to help out when they see this going on. It's just really difficult for the kids, the legislators, the parents, the teachers. We've got to come to some sort of understanding about how this should be handled.
Absolutely. Yeah. I think the biggest thing, in one of the directions that I've taken my show, is to really encourage kids to be respectful, to make that first in their mind, to motivate kids to always choose to be respectful. Like I'm sure your grandkids are, they respect themselves, and they know that the expectation is that when they go to school, they have to respect the rights of others.
Right, exactly.
Yeah. So what's the reaction been to folks who have read this latest Spinne the Spider book?
I've had very good reactions. Parents have come to me and said, this is wonderful. I love the way that you've handled this. Spinne, in the book, she goes to the parents, to the elders of the aunts that were being the bullies. Mm-hmm. So she didn't take it under her own sort of martial law mm-hmm. to do what she needed to do. She took it to the people who needed to handle it. Right. And the parents are loving that. Mm-hmm. The kids are learning from it. They're even enjoying it. And they're learning their lessons. Not only my grandkids, but the other children who have read it, they've said, this is great. We love this. So I'm real excited about the way it came out.
Yeah. And I'm excited because this is a great opportunity for parents to just kind of reinforce that with their kids, to sit down with them and to let them know that it's okay. If somebody's hurting you, you come and talk to me. If somebody is hurting somebody else, you can let me know. You can let a teacher know. You can let a principal or a counselor know.
Absolutely. It opens a dialogue where the kids can see that other people are feeling the same way about these same situations. Mm-hmm. So the parents can absolutely reinforce what they've been telling their kids all along. Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And it's just such a fun way. We talk about this a lot on the Reading with Your Kids podcast. It's a lot easier sometimes dealing with difficult issues and especially emotional issues when you're talking about what's going on to some characters in a book, as opposed to asking a child to sit down and to talk about something that's happening to them directly.
It makes it easier on them to be able to relate.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Absolutely. So tell us about the other books in the Spinne the Spider series, please.
Oh, okay. Her very first book, she rode on the car to the big city and had an adventure. And then her next adventure, we've had 3 adventures and 1 encounter. The bullying was the encounter because mm-hmm. that's more serious than an adventure. Her second adventure was called the Indoor Adventure, and she meets a mouse who has no manners at all, and she learns boundaries mm-hmm. in that book. You don't go where you're not invited, that sort of lesson. And then our third book, we've got, she goes to the zoo, and she almost gets lost. Ooh. So it's more of a teaching of pay attention to what your parents are telling you, do what you're told, that sort of lesson in the zoo.
What inspired? I know that you were inspired to write this book with based on your encounter with that spider. But did you always dream about being a children's author?
I didn't. My first story I ever wrote, which was terrible, and we won't talk about it, was written when I was in high school, and all the angst and teenage drama and blah blah blah. So, but I enjoyed it. I thoroughly enjoyed it. So from there, I thought, well, writing might be fun. I might enjoy the entire process. So first I wrote a book for an older audience, and then I went on to the children's books, and I really do enjoy writing the children's books.
What is it about writing for children that you love so much?
Oh, Jed, that's a great question. I think it's knowing what I went through when I was a child. I was not in the popular crowd. I was kind of in the middle. But going through that and seeing it from both ends, and then being where I am now, seeing that the grandkids are still going through the same issues, only now they've got electronics, that the bullying never ends. Mm-hmm. So I thought it would be great to be able to reinforce what my kids are teaching their kids and to connect with them on an additional level. Mm-hmm. I think that's what brought me to writing for kids.
That's wonderful. What a great reason to write for kids.
Thank you.
Yeah. I need to share with you one of my spider stories. It didn't actually happen to me directly, but we host international kids here in our home. And it's been a real joy. And we have a great, and right next to my studio here in the subterranean studio, in Reedville, we have our guest room, and it's a really great little guest room and like a little apartment with the bathroom and a little kitchen, and it's really sweet. And the kids from different countries, they love it a whole lot. And we had one of the first girls that we had live with us was a young woman, from China. And I said to her when she was getting ready to go home to China for the summer, and then she was going to university, I said, what can we do to make this space nicer for the next student who comes in? And she said, well, I really like this space, but you might want to get rid of the spider. And I said, what? Wait a minute. There's what? She goes, yeah, there's this huge spider in the bathroom. And I said, why didn't you tell me? And she said, well, I like it. It's really cool, but the next person might not like it.
Oh, how funny.
So because it was her friend, when I found it, we brought it outside, and we live right near the woods, and we brought it outside into the woods, and hopefully it's still making nests out in the world.
I'm sure it is, and it's got a story to tell its friends.
Absolutely. So are there new Spinne the Spider adventures coming down the pike?
There are. I believe she's going to go to school next.
Ooh, yeah, that would be fun.
Yeah.
I
don't know what we're going to learn.
Okay, well, I was going to say, now is this going to be a human school, or is it going to be a spider school?
I'm believing it's a spider school.
Ah, very
maybe an insect school overall, because we do have different types of people in all schools. So
absolutely. Maybe
she's got a lot to learn from different insects.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Now, what age group do you think is going to most embrace Spinne the Spider?
I believe it's the 8 to 11-ish. Mm-hmm. It depends on reading level and whether the parents are reading with them or helping them read some of the intermediate words. Mm-hmm. Maybe a 6-year-old. My 6-year-old granddaughter, she read through it really well.
Yeah. And
my 10-year-old grandson asked for help with a couple of the words. So I believe it's 8 to 11, but it depends on the reading level.
Mm-hmm. And one way. There are so many reasons for us to read with our kids, and I think one of the biggest reasons. I talk about the fact that it's the foundation for that lifelong conversation that we can have with our kids, and it's a really great way to bond with our kids. But the other thing it does when we're spending time reading with our kids or talking about what our older kids are reading, it's a way for us to kind of see how they're doing with reading. You know, somebody who starts off, at 6 years old and is really just kind of devouring those early books, they may have trouble when they get a little bit older. And, if you're spending time reading with your kids, you can kind of know that and kind of intervene and give them the support that they need.
Absolutely. And that's the best way to keep them reading is to help them through the few hurdles as they go along.
Yeah. And again, if your kids see you loving to read, they're going to love to read. If they see you loving to spend time with them, well, that's really amazing because you are the person that they want. You're the most important person in your kid's life. They want to think that you think they're pretty cool. And a great way to express that is by sitting down and reading with them.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I love to read. I love to read with the grands.
Yeah. Do you have any other characters that you're thinking of writing about?
I believe they're maybe I've got a grasshopper in mind, but we have a cricket, so I'm not sure how that's going to interact. They may be friends, they may not. I'm also thinking that maybe we're going to have a beetle, perhaps a ladybug, and we definitely need a butterfly.
Awesome. Yes, butterflies are beautiful. Well, tell everybody where they can find out more about Spinne the Spider and connect with you.
Okay, I've got a website. It's www.lindyspencer.com. And that's LINDY Spencer.com. That is my other name, my real name. I write under MaeMae and I write under Lindy, but all of my books are on the same website, or you can find me on Amazon. I believe I may also be on Barnes & Noble.
Awesome. Well, we've been talking to the author of the Spinne the Spider series, a great middle grade series that you want to check out. It would be a great addition to your family library. Our guest has been MaeMae Spencer. MaeMae, thanks so much for being on the show.
Thanks for having me, Jed. I appreciate it.
Please be sure to join us for the next edition of the Reading with Your Kids podcast. We have two great guests for you. Our friend Leslie Wall is coming in to share some great suggestions of books that we are going to want to read with our teens. We also are going to be introducing debut author Michaela Wolf. She has a wonderful brand new picture book that you're going to be really fascinated by. Want to thank so many people. First off, before we thank our sponsors, I want to let you know if you are the author of a great children's book, we would love to have you as a guest on the Read with Your Kids podcast. Being a guest, it's fun, it's easy, and it gives you the opportunity to tell thousands and thousands of people about your great children's book. It's really easy to be on the show. All you need to do is to go to our website, readingwithyourkids.com, click on the contact button. You can let my producer Fatima know what your book is all about, and we will let you know the next easy steps to being a guest on the show. Readingwithyourkids.com. We do want to thank Rachel Mazer for being a sponsor in the show. Make sure you check out her wonderful middle grade series, The Nature Club. We also want to thank our friends over at Familius Publishing. They have so many wonderful books that we have spotlighted here. One of the new books that's coming out, we introduced to you a while ago, Dogs vs. Ice Cream. Check them out at Familius.com. I also want to thank my amazing producer, Fatima Khan, for all the things she does for our show. Make sure you check out her blog. Every time we publish a brand new episode, there is a brand new blog to accompany that episode on readingwithyourkids.com. So check it out today. I also want to thank my beautiful wife for all of the support that she gives me. And of course, we want to thank you. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us today. Thank you so much. If you feel inclined and inspired, for leaving a 5-star review for the show on Apple Podcasts or wherever you find your podcast. And of course, we want to thank you for helping to make the world a better place by reading with your kids. I'll be looking for you in the next edition of the Reading with Your Kids podcast.